I'd like to share with you something that I've struggled with over the years in the Bible that seems kind of like a contradiction a little bit. Actually, quite a bit. But have you ever had this thought? Have you ever wrestled with this? Now, we know that God is a God of love because the Bible tells us God is love. There's verses that say that. And then the Bible says that God demonstrates his love. He shows us his love in this. While we were sinners, Jesus Christ died for us while we were sinners. Now, not while we were trying to be good, but while we were running the other way. Like it says, we've all gone astray like sheep and gone our own way. We've all done our own things. Like the prodigal son, he took the father's money and he ran as far away from his father as he could just to have a good time. That's us. So God finds us while we're running away, and Christ dies for us while we're running away. That's God shows his love. He demonstrates it. It says that in Romans 5. But now here's the apparent contradiction. How can a God who, it's been said of God, when he sent his son, he bankrupted heaven. I like that thought. Because he could have, God has all the angels and everybody, and he could make new angels in the blink of an eye. But the Son of God, that's different. He's part of the Godhead. He's eternal. He and the Father existed from eternity. So he's not a created thing. He's God the Son. And God the Father gave him, sent him. He bankrupted, he gave everything. He went broke, gave his son to die on the cross out of love. Now that's clear in the Bible. But then there's this other thing in the Bible where God throws people into hell forever. There's a place called hell where it's God who is sustaining it. God created it. And it's a place of, where Jesus said, eternal punishment of endless torment and fire and weeping and gnashing of teeth and horrible for eternity. And God is the one that sustains it. So how do you balance these two things? How can God be so loving and at the same time do this to people? Well, this is the struggle, that I've had. And I used to solve it this way. Before I was a Christian, I grew up, as a young Catholic, and I thought this. Here's what I thought. Well, there's no hell. They made it up. They even changed the Bible. They said that Jesus taught about hell because they want to scare everybody, and then they could collect more money from us and make us do whatever they want. It's a way of scaring people. But there isn't a place called hell. They just made it up. Because here's what I thought. I would never send anybody to hell, and I know God is better than me, so I don't think he would. But see, I was so foolish because I didn't get my thoughts from the Bible, from the way God is. And this is what I was missing. This is what I missed. That God is so holy, which means holy means he's separated from sin. He hates evil. He hates sin. And that's a good thing. And he's righteous. And he has justice. He's a righteous judge. And he is holy. So when we think about holy, we can imagine it this way, and righteous, we have a little bit of understanding of that. If somebody is a child molester and they're really wicked and they really molest children and then kill them, we hate that. It's a good thing to hate evil. We understand that. And we have a measure of justice in us. We understand that person deserves to pay for that crime, at the worst payment possible for that guy. Okay, well, imagine that kind of thought about evil and punishment. Imagine that only in an infinite level, infinitely holy, where even the smallest selfish thought would infuriate God because he's so pure and holy. It infuriates him because of how good he is. And then he has infinite justice at the same time. So his justice is also infinite. So he's an infuriated person who has infinite justice. Now that kind of makes sense then, that there would be a punishment for even something that we wouldn't consider to be a big thing, but he would. And the punishment would be greater than anything that I would do, but something that he would do. And so this brings up another thought. If somebody sins for, let's say you're alive for 60 years, 70 years, and 50 years you sin for 50 years, let's say 50 years of sins. Well, it makes sense that you would burn in hell for 50 years to pay for that, maybe. But how is it that somebody sins for 50 years and then they burn in hell forever? How is that just? Have you ever thought about that? I've wrestled with that. And this is what helps me. I'm just telling you about my own struggle, and maybe you've had this. I'm trying to understand God, see, from the Bible. Not just invent some God of my own brain. But when somebody goes to hell, it's very similar to what happened to the devil. The devil was an angel, and he sinned, and we know, and then God kicked him out of heaven. But when he kicked him out of heaven, it's clear that God changed his nature. Now, God changes the nature, the inward nature, the character of beings. He did that to the devil, and the devil, Satan, is pure evil. Now there's no good in him whatsoever. And he did that when Adam sinned. Adam, his nature was neutral. He was totally free to obey God. He wasn't in any inward sin. He could obey or disobey. And he chose to disobey. Then God changed his nature. And now the Bible says we are born in sin. Have you ever wondered this? Why can't we find anybody who doesn't sin? Everybody, even your sweet grandmother. What? Because we're born with a nature that's corrupted in sin. There's something wrong with our nature. That's why. And see, God has the ability to change your nature, and he does that if you go to heaven, our natures will be so changed. We won't even want sin. We won't even think about evil. We will love God so much and love each other so much. It's pure love. It's the kingdom of love, because our natures are now changed. Well, when God sends somebody to hell, their nature is changed, and they become pure evil. They hate God. They're angry at God. They're grinding their teeth, and they continually sin with their attitude. And God gives them more punishment. And they sin, and they get punishment. And this goes on forever and ever and ever. What a scary thought. That God would put you in a place and God would change your nature in such a way that there was no good in you anymore, and you just hate God and hate your neighbor and hate the devil, and everybody's hating one another. It's a place of hatred. But see, there's punishment because of the ongoing sin. That's why the 50 years doesn't end, because the people keep on sinning. Now, I'm talking to you about these scary things because these things are helpful. We're trying to understand who is the true God and what is he like. He's infinitely love, infinite in love, infinite. But he's also infinitely holy and infinitely righteous and just. So God bless you today. I hope you think about these things and try to understand the true God.